What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Patrick, aka Addicted to Combat, back for another week of UFC action. And we've got UFC Vegas 70 on deck this week, 13 fights in total, headlined by a 205-pound bout between Nikita Krylov and Ryan Spann. So this Apex card is actually looking a lot better name value-wise, competitive-wise, and hopefully the fights play out a little bit more entertaining than last week's card. The prelims last week, not so bad, but the main card, kind of a snooze fest aside from Aaron Blanchfield shocking the world, at least me anyways. I thought Andrade was going to get that done, but Blanchfield came through. And I got a very special guest today as well, somebody who rules the Friday night podcast slot with a very popular show, the Lambo Plays Parlay show with Tim Troiano. NarcoCop is very good at not only guessing who's going to win the fight, but when they win it, how they're going to win it, and somebody who you see just dropping high-value prop after high-value prop every single week, giving out winners. So I'm glad to have him on the show because I'm kind of more of a basic bettor. I'll look for the good money lines I like, maybe some round props, some over-unders, and parlay those. But I got a lot to learn, so let me bring in NarcoCop to join us. What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
What's up, man? My camera looks kind of messed up. Is that me or
you're a little blurry, man? What's going on? Focus up. Focus up. We had the match. We got the matching T-shirts on too, and you're out of focus. What's up?
What the heck happened here? Hold on a second.
This is good radio. Let me shout out the chat real fast. Oh,
there we go.
Looking crisp.
That was weird.
Well, how you doing, man? Aside from the camera troubles, what's up?
Good. How are you, man? Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to be here. Finally back in my chair. Had a long work day, and now I'm glad to talk some fights and some money with you. So. We were talking backstage about your poker playing career and how long you've been doing that. Any parallels or like skills you've taken from that you can bring into mixed martial arts betting?
Yeah, I tell everybody bankroll management. Number one skill I've learned in poker where I transitioned to gambling is bankroll management. It's so big. And so I've played poker, 25 plus years. And the one thing I've learned is no matter how good you are, right? No matter how big of a winner you are, if you have bad bankroll management, I always see people bust. They go bust. The best players, one of my very good friends that has hit 7 figures 4 different times and gone to 0. So, and he does that because his bankroll management is terrible. But
along with that, is there like a comfort with taking the risk? Is there like more of a comfort that you have with like, because I see you, maybe you'll play both sides of a bet when I watch your show on Friday night with Tim. Like you'll go, maybe this will end one of 2 ways. If it's just the main event, for example, is it Ryan Spann knockout? Is it Nikita Krylov, sub or decision? Do you play both sides of those and you're okay with losing one side to maybe gain a higher value? Is there like some sort of like risk, that you're more comfortable with from your poker playing?
I mean, maybe I take more risk than the average person because I've been doing it for so long. Like playing poker is a risk. I mean, gambling in general is a risk, right? But I've been doing it for so long, I probably feel more comfortable than the regular bettor or the new bettor. But I normally don't play both sides like that. What I tend to do sometimes is I'll play the under 2.5.
Right.
And let's say I feel strongly on one side finishing over the other, then I might add one side instead of the other. But there has been occasions, I guess, where I've played both sides. But normally I try not to do that.
Right. But yeah, just those, it is impressive week in and week out seeing you guys hit those and even chaining those together in those parlays, those exact, the method, the winner, and the round. Those are awesome to see. So as we dive into this 13 fight card, is there one of these that you're looking the most forward to?
Well, there's a couple of them, to be honest. I'm always looking forward to Charles Johnson. He's kind of a friend of mine now. He's always on my spaces.
He's fighting so often these days too, man. It's good to see him that active.
We started chatting in DMs. It was just one day I was on spaces. He came out on my spaces and he wasn't in the UFC yet and just started chatting. Really nice guy, humble guy. And next thing you know, he's in the UFC and we just kept in contact. So I'm looking forward to that. He did tell me, for everybody out there, this fight is not at 125 like Tapology states. It's at 130 catch weight. So whether that makes a difference or not in some people's minds, it might, because Osborne kind of has trouble cutting to 25. So This is a fight at 130. I'm looking forward to that fight. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting fight. The other one I'm looking really forward to is fight that I have money on, obviously, and it's Krylov versus Spann. I'm interested to see what happens there.
Yeah, it's a fun one too. That might finish one way or the other. But before we get started on the prelims, shout out the chat real fast. We got my girl, the certified gem of MMA Twitter, Jenna Marie, saying let's fucking go. Daz Files in the house saying readers are leaders and note takers are money makers. Is that Liam? Liam picks fights. I assume that's Liam. Let's go. Pen is ready. My guy Chris for the Love MMA. Good to see you here. Driving in the snow, catching this show, maybe on the repeat. Rob Lawrence in the house. My guy MMA Bets in the house as well. Victor J. DeJesus. What's up, Patrick? Narco in chat. Always good to see you, Victor. Dev had a show earlier with Sell the Red. I caught that when I was at work. Very good work there. Go check out my guy MMA Jesus on YouTube and Instagram. Ryan Jordan in the house. Should be some bangers this week for sure, my friend. We got my guy Zach Singleton in the house as well. CJP UFC Bets. I saw he dropped a full card breakdown. Sicky does MMA. Counting down the days until his boy John Jones comes back to the UFC. Just leading the charge on all of these John Jones posts on Twitter, man. Every time I open up Twitter, it's just Sicky sounding off something about John Jones kicking Gon's ass. So can't wait to listen to his breakdown when he releases his videos. But man, without further ado, Narco, let's break into the first prelim of the night. And this should be a good one. Bantamweight bout, we got the debut of Jose Johnson coming off of a couple of Contender Series bouts, and he's taking on Garrett Armfield, who we saw last year. Unsuccessfully jump up a weight class and take on David Onama on short notice. At featherweight, he got submitted in round 2. But obviously the thing that stands out in this matchup is just the power of the slick Muay Thai of Jose Johnson. The guy has got unbelievable power, and he's just a giant frame for this weight class, like 6 foot tall with his reach is just unbelievable for even lightweight, much less 2 weight classes down. I'm liking Jose Johnson and getting him at that underdog price over Garrett Armfield, who I do think has really good boxing and some good combinations. And, the elephant in the room is Jose Johnson. He gets taken down so often. And to his credit, he has to work his way back up to his feet successfully. But, man, it's hard in the back of my mind to trust this guy with my money when he's going to have to work his way out of some tight spots in the ground. But I did it. I laid down a unit on Jose Johnson at plus 120. You got any action or strong reads on this fight?
Yeah, I have a small bet on Jose Johnson by submission, but I got in very early when the line opened on Bet Online. It was plus 900. The line is smashed now. It's gone. Yeah. But in this fight, the thing that I see with Jose Johnson is basically what you stated. His takedown defense is very, very poor. He really doesn't have any hips. He can't really stop takedowns. Like we witnessed in Dana White's Contender Series. However, he does, because he has very long limbs and he hunts for a lot of submissions off his back. He gets reversals. He does all types of stuff when he's on bottom. So he's pretty active. He's throwing from bottom. He doesn't really just sit there on his back and not do anything and let the round ride out. But with Armfield, in the stand-up, I really like his boxing, to be honest. His combinations are very good. He's a very, very good boxer. I think he's the better boxer of the two for sure. But Jose Johnson has the better knees. Jose Johnson has the better elbows in the clinch. And when I watched Armfield against Ronnie Lawrence, he tended in the clinch, he was getting beat up by Ronnie Lawrence. A lot of knees, a lot of elbows. And what that did to him, especially the knees, it zapped his cardio completely. I mean, he was completely gassed halfway through the second round. So here in this fight, I do see a decent cardio edge for Jose Johnson. However, I just can't bet on a guy that gets taken down so easily. And I do think Armfield's pretty strong, and I do think he can get this fight to the ground. Whether he can be safe while he's down there is another question. But if I was to pick a side here, I probably play the plus money on Johnson, plus 145, but without any conviction, to be honest, because I just don't like his takedown defense at all. And I could see him losing rounds that way.
Yeah, it's almost like when somebody's hittable on the feet, right? It's like they got to show that their chin is tough. Same with Jose Johnson. Like you have to prove over and over again that you've got good submission defense or good get up ability. Like he's doing it, but do you really want that tested at all times? And I misspoke. I put that unit on Jose Johnson. It was plus 130. So I thought that was going to be the peak of the line because I taped it without looking at the lines, and I thought that Jose Johnson would at least be like maybe a minus 130 favorite. It was opposite, so I took that bet. But yeah, it's one of those you're going to have to really sweat out. Hopefully he gets a nice, easy knockout. I do agree with you that Garrett Armfield, if this was strictly a boxing match, I think his traditional boxing is way better. But adding in those MMA techniques and the long limbs of Jose Johnson, I think it's going to be a good smash spot. Did you see you saw that KO? You said that was like one that you sniped early?
The submission prop on Johnson.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Submission because
hey, he can wrap up that triangle.
I do think Armfield's going to grapple here. I do think he's going to take this fight to the ground because of the reach and height disadvantage here. So he's going to work the takedowns and he's going to give Johnson the opportunity to sink in a sub. The one thing I did see with Armfield is the dude's chin is really damn good, man. Onama landed some fucking big shots up a weight class, and Onama hits very damn hard.
Yeah,
so
especially that round one.
And not to mention, this guy fought an Onama in the amateurs as well, like 5 years ago, and he lost a decision to him. So I do think Armfield's very, very durable as far as when we're talking about his chin. I did play the over 1.5 and the over 2.5 in this fight.
Okay.
I think that over 2.5 is very, very generous at plus money. Don't understand. Like, I don't see Armfield really finishing Johnson because, again, Johnson's another guy that he's been knocked out, I believe, one time in his career. And that was by the UFC guy.
I'm trying to
Mana Martinez.
Yes, yeah.
And Mana Martinez hits very damn hard. Like we saw what he did to Ronnie Lawrence, dropping him all over the place. He has one punch KO power. Mana Martinez.
That left hook is nasty, Mana Martinez.
So I like the over here, honestly. I think Armfield stays safe for a little bit. Over 1.5. Again, very generous price at minus 145 for these guys. And then the over 2.5 is plus 150. So I like the over here. I think this fight might actually go to distance.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering the weight class as well. They're probably setting that at, one guy is knocking people out left and right recently, and then the recency bias of Armfield also getting finished recently too. So you're probably getting that on it, in the line. So I don't mind that at all, especially for the lighter weight classes. If you can find a spot where you can find these guys being durable and, staying safe, take it. But yeah, that's all I got on that one. I just got that money line bet, but I like those spots. We can move forward to another debut spot here. Haley Cowan at women's bantamweight taking on Eileen Perez. Another spot where both women, it seems like both of them are kind of making their debut here. We saw Perez, I believe, on short notice against Stephanie Egger on that Paris card. And she had okay success against Stephanie Egger, but, eventually it was just the judo throws and getting stuck on bottom and tapped out for Perez, who is the Argentinian twerker who didn't have a really, I guess we saw one of her opponents actually make it to the UFC and Tamiris Vidal. But other than that, not the strongest level of competition from Perez, who just seems to bully people, want to get them to the ground. But Haley Cowan, you can see the budding skills from her as like a D1 athlete in gymnastics, having the pretty good stand-up quickly, but it's the grappling that takes a while to learn when you switch sports into combat. And that would be the worry for Haley Cowan, right? Like her getting taken down and stuck and, losing minutes on the clock. But overall, I think she's going to make rapid improvements. So I don't have a strong opinion either way. This is one where I want to sit back and watch and see, who really can, level up and look like they're UFC caliber between these two women. So no bet on this one for me, but do you have anything like stronger of a read on Haley Cowan or Eileen Perez? What do you like about these two?
So initially, I thought I was going to bet Eileen Perez. But then I became hesitant because I knew, first of all, Eileen Perez fight IQ is pretty bad. She's very, very sloppy when I watch her. She literally has no process in her game. Like, I know she's going for takedowns, but she is very, very awkward. She's getting reversed. In the Egger fight, she got hip thrown twice, I believe, in that fight. She had like dominant position once and somehow lost it. She's just way too aggressive and no process, to be honest. And then I tape Cowan, and then, she's athletic. She looks strong to me. She has a process. She wants to cage push you. She wants to get you down on the ground. And then, whether it be rain down some elbows, get into advanced position and maybe get a submission. But the problem with her is every single fight that I watch, she's in some kind of submission, deep in a submission.
Yeah.
Happened on Dana White's Contender Series. Happened on a bunch of the LFA fights, against not so good, Kelly Clayton choked her out, right? Middleton had a bunch of submissions against her, deep. Bunch of these fights, it's like you keep making the same freaking mistakes on the ground, and it's like, can you trust any of these girls? I can't. I was telling one of my buddies today, I'm like, at first I was going to bet this side. Then I was thinking I might bet Cowan because I think she's the stronger girl here, and I think she's the one that's going to land takedowns.
Yeah.
But I don't trust her. She's always getting into submissions. She's getting reversed. She did in Dana White's Contender Series. Why can't it happen again? That was recent. I do think she's more athletic. I do think she has a better process.
Absolutely, yeah.
I just can't trust any of these girls, honestly, with my money. The only thing I did play is I have a little bet on the under 2.5 at plus 160, just because both girls are so wild. They get themselves in bad positions all the time. And with that being said, I can see where one or the other can finish the other girl based on how bad they are with their IQ and their positioning.
I thought about that as well. And I was thinking about Cowan, and I was thinking about the under. Ultimately, probably just a pass spot for me. But Eileen Perez, what she has going for her is, she does fight with her ego. And I think if this gets to be a tough fight for her, I think she's going to fold before Cowan does. I think Cowan's got that mindset of, when it wants to grit it out. But also, she's newer to MMA. She's more technical. She has that process. But what happens when you get like a crazy berserker, a bully like Eileen Perez, who fights with her ego, maybe is more physical than we're giving her credit for. And she's like pulling out some unconventional shit on Cowan. And she's like, we never practiced this. I never had like a wild Argentinian fly at me across the ring and throw spinning back fists, whatever we saw her do against Edgar, So I think the risk taking of Eileen Perez would be like her best weapon here, just making it kind of like non-technical, but something I want to sit back and watch and see who puts on a better show here. Because I think Cowan's got potential, and she, being that, you see these D1 athletes from another sport make better improvements. Even at 31 years old, she should be able to improve fight to fight.
I will say, I think she lost her Dana White's Contender Series fight, to be honest.
It was close, wasn't it? I'm surprised she got the contract. I think everybody was.
I kind of think she lost. The other thing is, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that she got a contract. The only thing that I can think in my mind that why she got this contract is UFC is trying to push this girl somehow.
Absolutely.
Because
they're like, we need like a female Bo Nickel, we need like a female athlete.
She was an all-American gymnastics girl. It's a nice story,
Exactly. That's why.
Who's Eileen Perez? Like, I'm
Samurai
sure
Fight House champion or something, right?
I'm pretty sure the UFC want Cowan to win here, but that doesn't mean she's going to win. But yeah.
All right, so we're both kind of on the same side of that one, just kind of confused overall. But dude, do you think we're going to find another athlete out of Samurai Fight House coming to the UFC soon? We've had a couple now.
It's that Argentinian guy was from Samurai Fight House, wasn't he?
Yeah. Prado, was it?
I forgot. I think it was Prado or the other guy. I can't remember.
Or was it Brenner? Elvis Brenner. I can't remember which one it was.
No, it wasn't Brenner. There was another Argentinian guy that's Ribovax.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Contender Series. I think he was from Samurai Fight House. I don't remember. But anyways.
I love watching those because once you see Samurai Fight House, I'm like, oh, we get some good production value on this one.
They're in a garage or something. I don't know where the heck they're fighting at. But
funny.
Yeah.
Just the best. That's like what MMA really is. Like, we've gotten used to it being kind of like on ESPN and televised, but that's really true mixed martial arts, just in a bingo hall. And everybody's like on makeshift chairs, just watching people beat the shit out of each other. But yeah, moving up the prelims, we have the debut once again. We've got a debut of Nurullo Aliev from Tajikistan taking on Rafael Alves, the crazy Brazilian, jacked out of his mind at 155, tried to make 145 a few times. This is like a big debut for Nurullo Aliev, who's off the Contender Series. I thought he had kind of like a light layup of an opponent. I think it was a short notice opponent in what was his name? Josh Wick, I think it was. It was this young kid who was like a kickboxer primarily, like a Taekwondo background kickboxer. So against Narulo Aliev, who's this, kind of like from that region of the world that you would expect to go out there and just grind out a decision based on control time and wrestling. It's exactly what happened, but he managed to get like his first technical TKO due to ground and pound. He had one on his record, but it was due to his opponent just folding in the corner due to fatigue. Alves, this is a big spot because Alves, I think, can present the danger that this kid has not really seen so far in his 8-0 professional career. So I'm leaning the plus money on Alves. Another spot, Narco, where I just couldn't pull the trigger on it just because Alves does tend to be round one or bust and gas out. So are you liking Aliev? Are you more impressed with this kid so far than I am? Because I'm not really that impressed just due to his lack of finishing ability.
So I guess this is a theme for me of late, but I bet Alves on the opener, close to the opener, plus 180, because I know Alves pretty well from Dana White's Contender Series. I taped this guy. I studied this guy. I think he's very good everywhere. He's dangerous everywhere. The cardio thing, to be honest with you, it's only at 145. At 55, his cardio is fine. When you watch the Demir fight, he wins round 3 against Demir in that fight. Like, he definitely wins that round. He comes on in that round. In the Dober fight, he got stopped in the third, but I don't think it was accumulation of do you remember the body shots he ate from Dober in that fight? I mean, not a lot of people can take those,
Nor could they take the strike that big left hook that he wound up all the way around, got the hips into it, and Dober just stood there and ate it. That was beautiful.
I mean, yeah, not a lot of people take those.
No,
I do think Alves at 55 is completely fine with his cardio. I think 45 was the problem, where he always gassed out bad, was at 45. At 55, he's looked good to me. He's looked good against Demir. He's looked good in a very, very high-paced fight against Dober. It was 1-1 going into the third, right? And, Dober stopped him. But I do think his cardio is fine. What I don't think is fine is the fact that when he gets on his back, he tends to get stuck there. He got stuck there against Demir in the first round, literally for about 4 minutes. He was stuck on his back.
He knocked down Demir at like 20 seconds, and then it was just on his back the rest of it.
Correct. And if he doesn't get taken down in that fight immediately by Demir there after the knockdown, most likely he wins that fight. It was just kind of lucky that he got taken down. And he just got stuck there. What I see from Aliev, and this is after I bet the opener, and I didn't tape anything, but after I taped, I cashed out of my bet because Aliev is absolutely relentless with his wrestling, man. And it's better than Demir's wrestling. So this guy's wrestling is legit. It's really, really good. He doesn't have any very good wins. The one win that I would say is pretty good is Zainakov, who I know this guy fights in ACA. I think he's fought in maybe not ACA, but Fight Nights Global or something like that. One of those Russian, but he's a good fighter. And I just like the relentlessness from Aliev. The guy keeps coming and coming and coming, has a good gas tank. And he just keeps pushing the wrestling. And I think that is going to be the key to success here, man. And he's got to watch out for the guillotine because Alves has one of the nastiest guillotines in MMA. So if he latches onto a guillotine, it might be good night for this Aliev guy. But I like Aliev here, man. After betting, like I said, after betting the plus 180, I think Aliev is the side here. The wrestling is going to be too much. And you're counting on basically a guillotine or some kind of, big knockout on the feet.
Yeah, I'm counting on a big moment in round one, pretty much. Do you see any finishing potential from Aliev in the spot? Do you think he can get a ground and pound, or is it a decision?
I don't. I took Aliev by decision at plus 240. It's a bet of mine. And then, like I said, I cashed out of the plus 180, even though it has value. I don't see the value because of the takedown defense. It's okay. First layer is okay. But once it gets pushed on him, I think takedowns are going to be coming pretty easily.
One thing I liked in this fight that I saw was the win inside the distance scorecards equal no action for Alves is plus 120. So either he gets that big moment, he finishes inside the distance, and if it goes to the decision, no matter who, wins that decision, it's just avoided bet. So I tend to like that one. What do you think about that spot?
What is it? Sorry?
Plus 120 for the scorecards equal no action for Alves. So
I think that's good because, Aliev does throw decent ground and pound, but I've also seen Alves, he holds guard pretty well. He doesn't let you pass easily. He's a strong dude. And, prior to his old self where he used to give up a lot, it's a completely different Alves. Like this guy's he's a beast. He ain't going to give up. And Aliev just doesn't show like he's a big finisher. Even in a Josh Wick fight, it was kind of weird. Like not much really landed. And it's like Wick is just like turning and it's like, oh, fuck it, give up, So I think the fight goes to decision most likely. And I think if it does, it's probably Aliev by unanimous decision.
Yeah, I tend to agree, man. And just their records just sort of indicate that too. I mean, Alves has been mostly finished in his career, but a lot of those were earlier on in his career. And these days, like you said, he's up a weight class now and should be safe. So I tend to agree with everything you just said. I'm picking Alves. I think he does find that moment early on, but if not, I think you're right. And I think it does go in the favor of. And that was a good price you got too, over plus 200 on the decision for Aliev, which is what he's been proven to do. So just wanted to shout out my guy Propaholic in the house. What's going on, MMA Propaholic? This guy puts out great content, and he's part of the spaces on there, I think on Thursday nights with my guy Couch Warrior. So go check him out on Twitter if you don't know who he is, and check out his YouTube as well. Love my guy Propaholic. So we're moving up to spot here where we got one of the bigger betting favorites of the card, Joe Solecki, big favorite over Carl Deaton, who's coming in on short notice. The guy had a scheduled bout on a regional promotion on Friday. He gets the upgrade and gets to come first class to the UFC Apex on Saturday, so he took that. But not the worst regional scene guy, but he is going to be a sizable underdog here. Let me double check where this line's at. We're looking at Joe Solecki at minus 600 on a lot of books. Carl Deaton, the third, plus 425, the underdog. I got to say, as far as like plus 425s go, I don't think the guy looks horrible. I mean, like his boxing is okay. The problem is like his wrestling offensively, he gets away with a lot of things casually against the level of competition he faces that you're just not going to get away with Joe Solecki. So if he goes into that type of strategy, he's been scoring these 17 wins over, it's just not going to work against Joe Solecki. So night and day difference as far as the levels of the grappling go. I'm not thrilled with Joe Solecki all the time. Like if he can't get the takedown or if he faces a better wrestler than him in spots like a guy like Jared Gordon, he can just be content to be off of his back and just, lose minutes that way. So I think Solecki gets it done probably inside the distance, but I don't know how to play this. How would you play this, Narco?
I wouldn't play it, honestly.
Right, we are.
Deaton for me is I don't think he does anything good. Literally nothing. The only thing he does good is survive. Outside of that, I don't like.
You don't count the Justin James decision victory. That doesn't hold much merit in your eyes. Come on,
not
man.
at all.
Former UFC veteran Justin James. Dude, remember the good old days before the James Krause situation where Justin James could openly tell everybody, the reporters, the UFC, he's like, I'm taking my money, my win bonus, and I'm betting it on myself. And they're like, who cares? You're gonna lose anyways. Yeah. That was funny.
Yeah, I mean, this guy just, Alejandro Flores fight, this very low volume. He's getting kicked to death in that fight. Doesn't really do much, no urgency. Jonas Flack fight, he's getting taken down pretty easily by Jonas Flack, who's not really a very good wrestler. I guess he has some decent wins when you talk about, I don't know, Nathan Williams. It might be one of his best wins, but
yeah, it gets pretty light in the competition.
Yeah, and to be honest, like this guy's tape is not very good in my eyes. I don't think this guy should be in the UFC. I have no idea why they called this guy in the UFC. But I'll be honest with you, this guy, I don't think this guy is deserving. But the problem is Joe Solecki minus 600 is never fucking something I want to do. It's just a guy that, yeah, he has some finishes. Yeah, he's got good BJJ, but he tends to slow down. He gets hit a lot on the feet. he's just not a guy you want to back at minus 600 or minus 500. I do think Solecki wins pretty easily here, but I don't want to touch a side here. I don't have anything on this fight, to be honest. You're muted, my man. You're muted.
I was wondering what the inside the distance props are for Solecki here, because that's probably there's not much value on that. They're probably
I honestly would not touch it. It's minus 110, but the reason why I don't touch it is Deaton plays like he just like goes to decision. He's fine with losing by decision. He got stopped earlier in his career years ago, but since then he's never been stopped. And just the way he fights, it's low volume, it's safe. I wouldn't touch inside the distance at minus money on Solecki. It's not like this guy is, first of all, a very big puncher, because I don't think he's a big puncher. He's got a very good jiu-jitsu, but he goes to decision a lot. So
and his jiu-jitsu, like he gets away with things. Do you know what I mean? Like he's like getting, trying to like choke people out with no hooks in, like against the cage, and just the level of competition. They don't really know what's happening to them, or they're gassed out, and it happens successfully. But at this level, there's no way that's going to be a successful strategy. Shout out to my guy Easy from the DFS Whispers. Good to have you in here, my friend. Always good to see you. And yeah, I mean, I got no spots in that fight either. I do think Solecki manages to find the finish here, but money-wise, there's just no way I'm going to pay minus 110 on that.
When you go to decision against Jacob Bond, I can't find it in me to play you inside the distance.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope that he takes advantage of this step down in competition and like actually, shows some promise. You know what I mean? I hope it happens, but hey. Moving on to, and that was a lightweight bout. We're moving down all the way to this catchweight that you were talking about at 130. Ode Osborne was supposed to fight Dennis Bondar, and we're never going to see Dennis Bondar again, are we? He that's the guy who dislocated his arm against Malcolm Gordon, right? And
yep.
Yeah, so it's been a while since we have been scheduled to see him, but he's out due to injury again. And we got Charles Johnson, who just fought, I think, on the first card of the year against Jimmy Flick, and that wasn't too much of a tough test for him. He kind of melted through Jimmy Flick. And, yeah, I mean, Charles Johnson, there's a lot that I like about this guy. Aside from him getting out-grappled by Mikhaev initially, I mean, I like his cardio. I like the fact that he gets better usually as the fight goes on. He's been in those 5-round wars in the LFA for that championship. He doesn't have like that one-hit knockout power that Ode Osborne has, but we're not seeing that knockout power from Ode Osborne unless it's like a guy like Zaruk Adeshev or a guy like, Rivera or these low-level guys. So if that moment never comes, it's probably not going to happen in round 3. I think Charles Johnson gets better as this fight goes on. So the money line, as far as that's concerned, I just feel like there's not a lot of value on it. I feel like the line is set sort of where it should be for a short notice bout. But it has come down a little bit. Okay, yeah, that looks playable now, because when I saw this initially, it was like minus 180 or minus 190 for Charles Johnson. So there's some buyback on that line. So what do you think about this now that it's like minus 148? I'm looking at Bet Online. Charles Johnson, that's not looking too bad anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Johnson side here. Like we talked about before we got on air, he's a friend of mine and we talk a lot. And just so you guys know, he's the one that told me this fight's at 130. I'm not 100% sure. That's what came out of his, from his text. He told me
it's listed at 135 everywhere except for Tapology.
Wait, 135?
I'm sorry, 130. Catch weight 130.
Oh, okay. So it is. It's 130 for sure. He told me it's 130. So if it's listed other places,
yeah,
it is
everywhere except for Tapology. Tapology is so good, but sometimes with the weight classes, they'll be late to the party.
They're bad. They're bad with weight class. They're very bad.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I like him here at minus 148. I think it's a good line. I just think you can probably get a better line live because Osborne's a very fast starter. I mean, that's just what he does. He's very fast starter. Historically, Johnson is a very slow starter. He tends to get going, later in the fight. However, that's another thing we've been talking about. And, prior to the Flick fight, we kind of talking back and forth. He's like, be honest, what do you see? I'm like, I think you need to push your pace, man. Like you have like very, very, very good cardio and you need to use that as an advantage. Like you can't sit back and do what you did against what's the guy's name? But he won a split against
Zalgas.
I go, you can't give up round one like that and then expect, to always come back and win the next 2 rounds.
Yeah, he was lucky to get out of that one, to be honest with you. And I know that there was, I think the pace of that fight was broken up since there was fouls every 30 seconds. But he was lucky to make. I had money on Johnson, and I was, just crossing my fingers that would come through.
But I mean, Zalgas was melting late in the fight. He really was. And if it wasn't probably for all those stoppages, he probably stops him in the third. But the problem is, again, he started late in that fight. The difference I saw in the Flick fight is what we talked about. He came at Flick right away and pressured him and threw and just made him very uncomfortable. And when fighters make you uncomfortable, you will gas out more just by that alone. You're not comfortable. You're breathing heavier. You're gassing out quicker. And Johnson has a crazy gas tank. I mean, he has a really, really good gas tank. And, even though this is short notice, right after his fight, I think like a week later, maybe 10 days later, he was in Thailand already training. So he was at Tiger Muay Thai. He was already training out there. So I think he's going to be in good shape here. The cut for him is very easy, even to 25. So 30 is going to be nothing. The thing I see here is I think if you play him live, you might get a better price just because he's aware of Ode Osborne's power. He's probably going to take it a little easy in the beginning. But again, it's something we talked about. He knows too, he needs to push the pace again on Osborne. I think he's the better grappler. I think he's the better wrestler. I mean, this guy was wrestling with Olympic guys for months over here in the States. He was with Jordan Burrow wrestling. He can wrestle his ass off. Makayev obviously out-wrestled him. The guy is, born a wrestler, but this guy's wrestling is legit. And I think if he wants to use it here, he could push a pace that way and slow down Osborne. What I really like here is round 2, round 3 for Johnson. I think he's going to stop Osborne. It's just a matter of which round 2 or round 3. Okay. Because when you watch the Vergara fight, he was kicking Vergara's ass for the first 2 rounds. And then if there was one more minute in that third round, he was done. So he survived. He literally survived in that fight on bottom. So, I like Johnson late here. Like, he's got to be careful early because I do think Osborne has a lot of power, but Johnson has shown a crazy, crazy good chin. So I expect him to survive early. Finish him late.
Yeah, you're right on that. I mean, Ode Osborne, I hate backing guys who are at flyweight, especially. I know this guy is a former featherweight, but like at flyweight, especially if you're relying on that one moment for the round, bad strategy at flyweight, especially against Charles Johnson, who, like you pointed out, has never been finished by strikes. So I do like that. I'll be looking out for that. I know Propaholic is shouting out that round 3 or decision for Charles Johnson as well. But that's cool that he was, talking to you about, be real with me, man. What I need to fix in the fight. That's a funny conversation.
Well, he knows I watch a lot of tape, and I've literally watched all his fights in LFA, not before I even knew him, just because I love LFA and I watch all his fights. And that's the one thing that stuck out all the time in every single one of his fights, every single one. And a lot of them were 5-rounders. But what is it? He always gives up round 1, sometimes round 2. It's like, but these are 3-round UFC fights. You can't give up the first round over and over and over again.
Yeah, especially with the how subjective the judging can be, to say the least. It's like you want every opportunity to show that you're doing the effective striking, the effective grappling, everything involved in that fight. So I like that spot. And I might actually get to a bet on Charles Johnson now. I'll look out for that live betting after round 1, but even the money line, I like that it's come down. I'm surprised it's come down. I really am, because it was at when I taped this, it was at like minus 190. So interesting. I like that. That might be a bet. But something that I also consider betting on, but I don't think I'm going to get to it, is this next fight at 155. Jordan Leavitt taking on Victor Martinez. Another spot where you've got Victor Martinez is the debuting fighter coming off the Contender Series, where he had to overcome adversity in that first round, got knocked down, almost stopped, but he came back, showed very good boxing. He basically made it a boxing match for the next 2 rounds and came through and got the contract. Jordan Leavitt, complete opposite strategy here. The Monkey King, this guy is a grappler. he's throwing some nice stabbing front kicks to the body and things, getting people thinking about his striking a little bit. He's defensively sound, at least so far, but he just wants to wrap up a limb, backpack you to a victory, look for the submission, and he's been pretty crafty with it so far. So in this fight, I do like Jordan Leavitt just because I've seen so many times where Victor Martinez, almost like we were talking about in the first fight of the night with Jose Johnson, like I see Martinez getting having to defend rear naked chokes after rear naked chokes, and I think that Jordan Leavitt can find that submission. But the plus money was enticing on this guy, but I don't know. To me, Jordan Leavitt, I mentioned this on my full card breakdown. He's fallen into that category of like, I can't think of anybody else besides Alex Morono right now. Nothing to do with their fighting strategy, but just like their appearance is so soft and kind of cuddly. You just don't think that they're going to be the ones to get their hand raised in a cage fight. But I think the guy's a little underrated. So I'm taking Jordan Leavitt as the pick, but I can't get to a bet on this guy. What do you think here? Are you liking the Martinez side?
Yeah, I think you're a smart man not betting Jordan Leavitt. His striking is just so damn bad. His cardio is not very good. If I was to take the tougher guy here, it's definitely Martinez. The problem I have here, like I honestly wanted to find a way to bet Martinez in this spot because I don't know if a lot of people know, but Victor Martinez, I agree 100% with you, gives up his back all the time, gets into these chokes, is always getting out somehow, but it's going to come to an end if you keep doing that. He survived. This is what it kind of, impresses me with him. And he survived Gleitson Cutis on his back for a long time. And Gleitson is super high level jiu-jitsu guy. I think he's a 3-stripe black belt. He's very fucking high up there. Okay. So I don't think there's anything that Jordan Leavitt can do to him that Gleitson couldn't. So the thing is with Victor is he's been out for so long. I don't know what he's doing. I can't find anything. His Instagram is private. I don't know what he's been doing the last 2 years, right?
Yeah, because the Contender Series bout that I mentioned was not this past season. It was 2 seasons ago in 2021.
Correct.
So he's been out for quite a while.
It's been a year and a half since he's last competed. He withdrew from another fight because of injury or something. He withdrew. I have no idea what this guy's doing. What I will tell people out there is he is a black belt in BJJ. It's under Diego Ferreira, who's in the UFC. Yeah, that's where he trains.
I didn't know that.
He trains at Diego Ferreira's gym, and then they sometimes go over to what's the gym in Texas? Fortis. They go to Fortis and they cross-train there all the time together. So he is a black belt under Diego Ferreira. He's not like a slouch on the ground. He just gives up his back a lot. He makes mistakes. He survives. He knows how to defend. It's just that he makes mistakes. And, sometimes that's going to cost you at one point. So I didn't get to a bet here. I did, however, play like a split decision prop here. I think this fight might get greasy. Maybe with, Leavitt getting some moments with takedowns, maybe getting the back a little bit. On the feet, I favor Martinez in a big way. He has a boxing background. But I think this fight kind of plays close, to be honest. And, I favor Martinez as this fight goes on because I think he has the way better cardio.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like you nailed it. I like that split decision prop because it's going to be the effective striking all day for Martinez. But what if he's boxing up Leavitt for 2.5 minutes and then Leavitt grabs his back for the next 2.5 minutes, just has him in that controlled position? The judges are scratching their heads. It goes to the scorecards, and both guys think it's a robbery. So I don't mind that at all. And that's ultimately why I didn't play this, because there is plus money on Leavitt. He is the guy who's UFC tenured of, 5 fights already? I can't believe he's been in the UFC 5 fights. So it seems like he just slammed Matt Wyman just like a month ago, but he's been in the UFC for a while. Even reached the top, go into the big money, the dollar store version of a Conor fight in the weight class, getting the Paddy Pimblett fight. But I just see him pulling it out somehow. I think he's going to stalemate this fight and win a decision. Hopefully for you, it's a split decision if you play that. So yeah, it's a stay away spot for me betting wise, but it should be an interesting matchup. There's never a dull moment with Jordan Leavitt, that's for sure. So up next at women's flyweight, we do have a very exciting fight because we got a debuting fighter in Gabriela Fernandes who looks very good. as a technical Brazilian fighter. Her striking looks on point. She's taken on Jasmine Jasudavicius, who's the Canadian freestyle wrestling base, coming off of, fighting another, I think she was Brazilian, Natalia Silva, who was another technical striker last year, beat her pretty badly, tripled up Jasmine on strikes, and won on one judge's scorecards was a 30-26 because she almost got stopped by Natalia Silva. I have seen some spots on the tape where Gabriela Fernandes has been just like, her leg just gets yanked out from under her and she's suddenly on her back and having trouble there. But it's only been a few spots. That would be my only worry in this fight. Otherwise, everything else about Fernandes looks amazing to me. What do you think about her talent level coming into the UFC at an 8-1 record?
Yeah, I like the Fernandes side here. I have a bet on it, -125. The line hasn't really moved. I do think so. When I watch Jasmine, I think she's kind of like a bully when it comes to these other fights where she kind of bullied Kay Hansen. I think she bullied that Julia girl. But I don't think she can bully Fernandes here. Fernandes is not that much smaller than her. Jasmine is pretty big for the weight class, but Fernandes is almost right there with her. She looks physical when you look at her stature, her muscular build. Can she get taken down? Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say she can't, but I think she can work back up. I think she's a purple belt, if I'm not mistaken, in BJJ. She's not very high level, but on the feet, I favor her in a very, very big way. And
her striking looks special, doesn't it? Like, it looks powerful. The body shots, the kicks are so straight and fast. And there's not like a lot of like wind up to get ready for it either. It's like right from the stance with power, which is rare. I like it a lot.
And what's funny is Natalia Silva coming into that fight against Jasmine looked horrendous on the feet. She did not look good striking. And then she comes, 2 years later, and she looks like a completely different fighter. Gabriela, we already know, like, she's a very good striker. I think she gets to piece up Jasudavicius on the feet, make her uncomfortable, make her shoot bad shots. Like I said, I don't think she can bully Fernandes around here. So I like Fernandes at this price, -125. I think she's the better fighter overall. I kind of lean Jasudavicius in the grappling, but not by much. But on the feet, I mean, it's a wide margin here for Fernandes. So I like Fernandes side -125 here.
It's funny looking at these two fighters because Gabriela, she looks massive for the weight class when you watch her tape. But on paper, she's supposedly having like an inch less of height compared to Jasmine. I wonder how they're going to actually measure up to each other during the face-offs at the weigh-ins. Because am I wrong? Doesn't Fernandes, maybe she was fighting some shorter opponents. I can't remember, but she looks big.
She's probably fighing shorter opponents, but no, she's a big girl. Like, especially muscular-wise. I mean, she's got some muscle on her.
Yeah, so that'll lend to your theory of her not getting bullied around. So, yeah, we're on the same side there. You're a little bit more confident. I think I'm seeing what you're seeing. I think Gabriela does have that it factor, and she'll fit right in this division in the UFC. But kind of like you mentioned, just the opposite side of the coin with Natalia Silva last year taking on Jasmine. Like, she looked horrendous and then comes in and looks like a god, striking and actually not only stuffing all of Jasmine's takedowns, but getting some of her own. I'm just hoping that the reverse doesn't happen where like Fernandes looks really good. She comes in and I don't know, octagon jitters, debut, the travel. I don't know what it is. Hopefully she looks just as impressive on Saturday as she does on her pre-fight tape. So I might join you on that money line. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy that it stayed where it's been at. Like I got that line come back down on me for Charles Johnson. I'll definitely make that money line bet. The Fernandes one, not moving so much. So regardless, we move up for the first main card fight of the night. We've got at 155, Eric Gonzales returning to take on the debuting Trevor Peek, who's kind of the superstar of this Dana White Contender Series debuting crowd. Trevor Peek is this good old Southern boy that's got a 7-0 record, all knockouts, 5 of them in round 1. And this guy's offense, Narco, is basically his defense. Eric Gonzales, a pretty good generalist as a mixed martial artist, but kind of losing always to that next step up in competition. Anybody that's kind of like breathe that UFC octagon air, this guy tends to struggle against. Getting finished in his last 2 fights to Terrence McKinney and Jim Miller, both by finish. So Trevor Peek, I don't like betting on somebody at this big of a favorite price tag that's got like such poor technique, but I think he does get the job done. Probably again another knockout here. What do you think about Trevor Peek?
horrendous.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is
chin right up in the air to be hit, but
I mean, skill-wise, this guy is horrible. Yeah. He does nothing right. I mean, doesn't do anything.
He's a heavyweight. He's a heavyweight fighting at 155, basically.
Yeah, I mean, he's so wild. There to be hit, clumsy in everything he does, even when he's grappling, like he's getting out of position. He's so reckless and relentless that he's just getting out of position in the grappling. He's throwing these wide open hooks where he's literally almost falling down when he's throwing. I mean, this guy is not very skilled. He has a ton of power. He has crazy recoverability after getting hurt by Malik Lewis, who I really like. I mean, I taped Lewis, and I thought this guy was really, really good. I think what happened to Lewis is he went for the kill so hard that he gassed himself out very, very bad in that first round.
Yeah, I couldn't get him out of there. Trevor Peek never even hit the ground, did he? Like, he stayed standing the whole time, just rolling on the cage. You saw the ref kind of like look at him like, should I stop this, human corpse from, actually hitting the canvas at some point? And at that point, I think, you're right. Lewis just kind of gave a couple of moments where he did he go for a takedown? And I think he ended up on bottom position at one point, right? In the end of the first. He
went for a couple of takedowns. He got some, and then at the end of the first, he was on bottom.
Yeah, he was so damn back gassed. Up and managed to climb back on top. Crazy fight.
He was so gassed. But man, those knees to the body. I mean, knee to the head. I mean, this guy ate everything, this Trevor Peek guy. However, what I will say is he's not going to last in the UFC. I can almost assure you with this style.
At this weight class, too.
Terrence McKinney kind of comes up to mind, but Terrence McKinney's a great wrestler. Terrence McKinney is a lot better. His punches are a lot straighter, right? This guy is just nothing he does is right.
It's like it's almost like when Francis Ngannou took on Rosenstrike and just like threw with reckless abandon, just swinging his arm every which way. That's kind of how Trevor Peek fights at lightweight.
Yeah, I mean, this guy has knocked out everybody. He's never been in the third round in his pro career.
But kick it to me, man. You don't like his technique. You're saying he's not going to last. Do you think he's going to win this fight, though?
So in this fight, like, I think Eric Gonzalez is the better fighter, to be honest. And it's not close. Can he survive the early onslaught? And, he hurt Jim Miller very bad in that first round, almost won that fight. He stunned Terrence McKinney in the first round after getting hit himself. And then that's when Terrence McKinney went to the grappling. I honestly could see him knocking Peek out as well. So this fight is a volatile fight. If it gets past the first round, I favor Eric Gonzalez in a huge way. And that's what I'm waiting for because I want to live bet Eric Gonzalez. I think Gonzalez has good cardio. He can go for 3 rounds. I don't think Trevor Peek can go for 3 rounds. So if Trevor Peek goes bonkers like he does as normal, I expect him to get stopped in the second or third by Eric Gonzalez. So I like the Gonzalez side here, honestly. How can you bet a guy like this, Trevor Peek, at -2 something? Just play him ITD.
-2 something? I keep on forgetting to read the lines with
this guy, I think he's minus. He's -210. How can you play a guy with this guy's skill at -210?
I said that at -180, -190. I'm like, there's no way I could
play him ITD. Play him ITD because that's how he wins. He's not going the distance, and if he does happen to get there, he's probably going to be dead. So I don't think this guy he doesn't know how to fight as far as controlling himself. So this guy was a former drug addict 3 different times. He relapsed.
They tend to do very well in the UFC.
Well, they got a chin, I'll tell you that. So, but we saw what happened to Terrence McKinney, and this kind of stuff. If you don't get guys out early, you tend to be taken out later. So, I mean, I like Gonzalez side, to be honest here. There's no way I can play Trevor Peek.
Shout out to my guys from the Early Weigh-In podcast. Go check out their channel. Everybody who's watching, they do great work every week. Good breakdowns and good bets as well. But yeah, he's saying that Trevor Peek and Nate Lander were representing Tennessee so well. Man, Nate the Train in the UFC. Yeah, there's a few of these guys that are just berserkers, and they're so much fun to watch. But the fights probably won't see the scorecards. So is that your strategy here, Narco? You're hoping that he's just throws everything at Eric Gonzales, maybe hurts him, but can survive in round 2, and then Gonzales takes over. That's kind of your play here.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to look for a live bet here, and don't forget, Trevor Peek is taking this on short notice, so I expect his cardio not to last here. Guy already has bad cardio, and he's never been 3 rounds. I don't expect him to come out timid here because that's just not how he fights. So
yeah, I got the juicy fight doesn't go to decision parlayed up with something else later in the card, and as far as a pick, I'm picking Trevor Peek. I think he can win this fight, but like you, obviously, I think his career in the UFC is limited to say the least, and somebody's gonna knock him out with that chin straight up in the air, and his technique just nowhere to be found. But yeah, these guys agree with me too. Dog or pass. Peek is a bad TKO waiting to happen. So yeah, hopefully.
You know what's funny, Patrick? I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no, go ahead.
Like Eric Gonzalez went to war with Rafa Garcia, like 5 rounds, very close fight. It was back and forth fight. I think it was 2-2 going into the 5th.
Yeah,
Super close fight. And now he's fighting this guy Trevor Peek, and he's -2 something XX against him. Like I can't see it, man. I mean, outside of an early KO, I think Peek is probably dead here.
Yeah, it seems like the lines are always influenced by, obviously, just the recency bias, as you know. And Trevor Peek, all these round 1 finishes, a nice stoppage on the Contender Series, and now Eric Gonzalez, coming off of just kind of the opposite. But if you look further than that, there's a lot more depth. 3 times as many professional fights for Eric Gonzalez, and just a better fighter. But yeah, I mean, I think Trevor Peek might win regardless, but we will see. One thing's for sure, at least in my opinion, I think this fight will not see the scorecards. Hopefully Jordan Wright last week took all the variance out of that. So hopefully we can start relying on these unders not to be busted. So moving up along this main card, we do have the return of Mike Malott, who we rarely see, but not a bad talent, taking on a guy that I'm really fond of. I like Johan Lainesse very much. These are 2 hard-hitting Canadians, 2 guys that don't see the scorecards very often. It's Johan Lainesse that really has the power advantage, in my opinion. It hits like a truck. And one of these guys, kind of like we just talked about, if he throws all of his energy into round 1, trying to get the finish, he might not make it into the later parts of the fight, as we've seen in the UFC so far when he took on Gabe Green. Mike Malott, I mean, kind of the same gripes, right? Like, we haven't seen him really gas out into a fight, but in his career, it's been a long time since he's left round 1. So there's a lot to learn about these guys. I've been betting on Johan Lainesse every step of the way since a couple fights back into his CFFC career. I really like him a lot. Cashed him as a dog against Justin Burlinson on the Contender Series, but I got it. This might be when I jump off, though. I think the value kind of lies on his side here. The line is sitting around plus 180 for Johan Lainesse, Mike Malott -210. I think Malott has more ways to win, but I think the line should be closer than this one, man. How would you line this fight?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it should be a little closer. It's just that, when I watch Lionesse's last fight against Darian Weeks, he fought differently.
Yeah. He felt like a guy who had gassed himself out in his last fight and was trying to correct that, right?
100%. He didn't go. He didn't have those big moments where he swings like crazy. His volume was a lot lower. The thing is, that was a bigger cage. We have to take some things into account. That was a bigger cage. So he was moving around. Normally, you don't see Lainesse skirting around the cage, right? He was doing that in that Weeks fight, and Weeks was the one coming forward. Normally, he's the one stalking people forward until he gets tired, like in the Gabe Green fight.
True.
Gabe Green said something, and Gabe Green is one of the most durable guys. He said, man, this guy hits like an absolute truck. And I see it. Like, I mean, he hits very, very hard. Malott has a very, very questionable chin. But Lainesse, honestly, when guys put pressure on him, like the Gabe Green fight, he just completely folded, which is a little worrisome, to be honest. He basically crumbled to the ground and covered up. Like you said, there's a lot of questions to be answered still on these 2 guys. I think this fight should end inside the distance. However, again, it's a fight that I don't have a bet on. I'm probably not going to touch at all. It's just
right. Because would you be the most surprised in the world if this did see over 1.5 or a third round even? Like I wouldn't be the most surprised. And at that point, it probably goes to the scorecards.
If I didn't see Lionesse's last fight against Weeks, I would definitely be on the under here.
Yeah,
but
right.
I saw that, and I saw he fought differently, and maybe, like you said, maybe that's a reason because he gassed the last fight very bad against Gabe Green. So he's probably like, listen, I got to take my time. He wasn't throwing as hard.
The question I have for you is Mike Malott the type of fighter that's going to bring the volume the output out of Lainesse? Like, is he going to get in Lainesse's face and really bring that out? And then maybe Lainesse does fatigue himself like he did in the Gabe Green fight. That's what it's going to take. Like, Darian Weeks didn't really do that,
But I also think one of them dies if that happens. So if Malott pushes that pace and comes forward and engages like he was against Mickey Gall, because he's very hittable on the feet as well. I think one of them is going to get knocked out.
Gall was picking him off from close range.
So Lainesse has long reach. Like if Malott decides to play that game and he pressures forward, I do think he can get countered and knocked out. And like I said, his chin is not the best. He's got good striking for a guy that's known for. I mean, I think this guy was the head trainer for grappling at Team Alpha Male, and I mean he's got really good BJJ. But I will say this: Lainesse is not a slouch on the ground. He's a brown belt. He knows what the hell he's doing, and he's strong. So I don't think it's going to be like some easy cakewalk if this gets to the ground. So I mean it's just a stay away. There's so many questions in this fight. If Malott fights like he has been fighting, I think the under is a good bet.
Yeah, I like that. None of the props, like none of the value or like the payout on these props really sticking out to me in this fight. So it's a pass for me. But man, I feel bad jumping off my Johan Lainesse money train because it was, besides the Gabe Green fight, things are going quite well. Even though I got by betting on him in that last fight against Darian Weeks. That was one that was just like, finally it went my way, with that decision. But it should be a fun fight to see those guys. I'm sure these guys are familiar with each other, being both out of Canada and around the same age. So I'm sure that there's maybe a little bit of a rivalry there of some sort. So, but we got a very exciting women's fight up next at 125. Tatiana Saurez coming back. She's an 8-0 former UFC fighter making a return after destroying every piece of her knee except for the PCL. I think it was like the ACL, the LCL, the MCL, and like I think she had like one piece of her knee still on. It was just like a training session gone wrong. But now she's finally back, taking on Montana De La Rosa. And Saurez was just a beast at strawweight, just unbelievable strength, taking out girls like Carla Esparza, taking out girls like Alexa Grasso, who's fighting for a title now, finishing those women at 115. So if she's any piece of like what she used to be before that knee injury, I think she walks through Montana De La Rosa. It's just that case where she's a minus 800 or something favorite here because of that overlapping skill set where Montana De La Rosa kind of has the same game plan. She wants to bully people, get them to the ground. She's got a bunch of submissions on her record, but I don't think she can compete with Saurez unless Saurez looks totally different after this time off. So I'm confident, but how do you play this? Do you like the unders in this spot? Like what if you were targeting Saurez inside the distance? Would you play that, or would you just play the unders? God forbid her knee blows out again or something.
Nah, man. I mean, she had like one of the worst injuries, like torn everything. ACL, MCL, LCL, meniscus, and
lateral meniscus,
pretty bad injury. Now she's moving up and to 25. And one thing, at 15, like she was usually the bigger girl, the stronger girl, whatever. But now she's not. I don't think she's going to be the stronger girl here. And Montana De La Rosa, she's not the best, but she's very tough. She keeps coming. The one thing that I will tell people is you need to take a step back. Yes, is Tatiana Saurez was worldly? I mean, she was really good, right? But that was 4 years ago, and that was pre a terrible knee injury, and that was at 115, not 125. And she also stated that after this fight, she's going back down to 115. So,
I did see that, yeah.
So that's clearly telling you that she shouldn't be in this weight class. She's just doing it. I don't know what the reasoning is. Maybe this is the fight they gave her. I don't know why. But like, I mean, come on. How could you be confident in Saurez at this price, knowing that she's coming off these major injuries, 4-year layoff, is fighting a girl that has she been stopped before? Yes, but she is a tough. Montana De La Rosa is not like a cakewalk. No. She's tough. She's durable. You know, she went to draw against MBS not very long ago, and we see how good MBS is right now. You know, why are people acting like, you know, this is a slam dunk, easy fight for Saurez when there's so many questions to be answered here?
Well, it's a slam dunk, assuming that she's exactly where she left off. But
well, what's the keyword? What's the keyword you just said?
Assuming.
There's a lot of questions to be answered, right?
Yeah.
Knee injury. What do we know about a bad knee injury like that? You're usually not 100% recovered from something like this ever. The other thing is 4-year layoff.
Gotta learn how to walk. She had to learn how to walk again after something like that, you know?
4-year layoff, ring rust. That's a big thing. It's a big thing. Adrenaline dump. There's so many things here that I'm not trying to say go play Montana De La Rosa. What I'm trying to say is
I feel like you're talking about the John Jones fight next week. I feel like you're breaking into that with all.
But John Jones did not have a major injury like her, which is a huge difference. To me, the injury is a concern for me. It might take one kick from Montana De La Rosa and her knee might just give up. We don't know. So for me, it's just a stay away fight. I'm not messing with anything on this fight. I did play a small tad of Montana De La Rosa KO at plus 2,800 just because that knee can blow out by itself. That's what I was thinking. And I win at plus 2,800. I mean, it just could happen by itself.
That's what I was thinking when I was looking at, like, because I do think Saurez should be able to. I think she'll be able to adapt at 125. Assuming all of these things are not holding her back, I think she should do well here if she picks off where she left off, even at like 50%. But it is that thing where it's like, if you're going to look at trying to chop down a minus 800 on her price tag with an inside the distance, it's not that far off. It's like 20 cents difference from the fight doesn't go to decision. So you'd rather have that in case the leg blows out or something, right? Or she's totally out of her element and maybe she gets finished somehow. You never know. So I'd rather play the fight doesn't go or the unders instead of the inside the distance for Saurez if you're trying to play it that way. So yeah, I like that. Would you say you got the number on the TKO for Montana? What was
plus
it?
2,800. I think it's still out there. Yeah, it's still out there. Plus 2,800. I played it on principle that this girl's coming off an injury and you're giving me some stupid line like plus 2,800 that her knee could just go out and you win by KO because her knee went out. So, right. I mean,
hey, for your sake on that prop, let's hope she got that Cain Velasquez knee coming.
It's a small bet. I don't wish that upon her, to be honest. I don't wish that she blows her knee.
When I speak this way, I'm talking primarily just for the betting. I hope all these people make it home safely, and when you speak about these people like there's pieces of meat because we're betting on it, it's totally different than I call people bums here and there. I got respect for everybody who walks in the cage, but when I got my money on it, it's you're just you're livestock at this point. So now if I'm talking to you on a live stream about just how much I like the fights, it'll be different. But with cash on the line, man, it's just livestock to me at this point. So excited to see her fight regardless. Interesting one though. I think she does come through here and get the victory, but. Woo, minus 800, biggest betting favorite in the card. Interesting here. Her and Joe Solecki, making the juicy numbers on this one. Kind of suspect. But speaking of suspect, we got two suspect heavyweights up next. Augusto Sakai taking on Dontel Mays. Another spot Narco where I see the money line and I'm like, man, I want to bet Sakai, but I need plus money if I'm going to bet on a guy at heavyweight who's coming off of 4 consecutive TKO losses, but I think you could forgive every single one of those, and I think all those guys would defeat Dontel Mays. I'm not high on Dontel Mays at all. I just don't think the guy is very good. I think even the wins or the losses of Sakai, like all those guys would beat Dontel Mays, and I think people are really sleeping on the fact that like they're saying like, okay, Dontel Mays, he took down Josh Parisian, he'll be able to take down and hold down Sakai. I think that's a little bit of like a false equivalency because Sakai was popping back up to his feet underneath the pressure of Sergey Spivak in the early parts of that fight. So Man, I don't know. I think Sakai gets this done. Actually, my guy Dale from the Punch List MMA podcast. I was watching his show last night. Everybody go check out him. He'll be my guest next week on Tuesday for next week's pay-per-view. But he compared so beautifully Augusto Sakai to Antonio Bigfoot Silva from back in the day. And I never made that comparison, but they kind of are just that big lumbering hunk of a heavyweight where it's like, they just have just giant lunchbox-sized fists that they could land. But at a certain point, what happened to Bigfoot Silva, the potential just went away. He went out on like 15 losses, unfortunately. I always liked that guy, but is that what we're seeing from Augusto Sakai here, or can he pull off this victory? I think we should give him one more shot. What do you think?
I'm on the opposite side, unfortunately.
Okay.
I really like Mays in this spot.
And there, speaking of the devil, here he is. I was just talking about him.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that this guy might be tapped out, to be honest. Sakai, 4 straight knockouts, hasn't really looked good. Yeah, he's popping back up, but right back down to the mat.
Yeah.
Got absolutely beat up in that fight. Again, 4 straight knockouts. Did I like what I saw from Dontel Mays against Hamdi? No. He went for that stupid, trip takedown and ended up on his back in the second round.
Right back off like he hit a brick wall.
Yeah, which was just a terrible idea, right? But here's the thing in this fight, and this is what I look at when I'm looking at this fight. I try to take out recency bias. I try to take all that stuff out, and I kind of try to look at the bigger picture here. And the bigger picture for me is, I think the guy that hits harder is Dontel Mays. I think the guy that's more durable by far is Dontel Mays. I think the guy that has the grappling edge is Dontel Mays. I think the guy that has the cardio edge is Dontel Mays. And I'm getting plus money. I have to bet him. It's as simple as that. He has too many advantages in this fight for me not to bet him here at plus money. Like, what has Sakai shown me? Yeah, he's lost to good guys, but he's getting stopped by all of them. It's not like he's looking good in any of these fights. I mean, if you want to talk about that, we could say that Dontel Mays looked pretty decent against Cyril Gane, who's fighting for the championship not very long ago. So I try to look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture for me is, yeah, he lost that fight to Hamdi, but what we found out is Hamdi's on juice.
Come on, you don't think Dontel Mays is on as well? Come on,
it might be, but
absolutely.
But the key thing here is Hamdi's a very good wrestler. Sakai is not a very good wrestler. So he could not use his wrestling in that fight against Hamdi. He couldn't, because Hamdi's the better wrestler. Sakai is not the better wrestler here. So that's the difference in this fight. I think striking is close. I would lean Sakai because he's got more of the kicking game and stuff like that. But power is definitely on Dontel Mays. I mean, Dontel Mays almost had Hamdi out of there.
He just needed to keep going, man. He needed to keep going. It was
and he didn't. But like I said, cardio. There's so many things that I favor Dontel Mays here. Is I have a 2-unit bet on him, so okay. I like Dontel Mays here.
Interesting, yeah. I can't argue with that. Obviously, I can't argue with that. With the showings that Augusto Sakai has had, not having a decisive win since September 2019 against Tybura. I mean, I'm not counting the win over Blago Ivanov. It wasn't very decisive, and that was all the way back, almost 3 years ago now. So it's been a long time. He did look good against Overeem, my boy, but I mean, let's face it, Overeem was like 41 at the time or something like that, and he could not finish the job over 3 rounds. Then after that, he started fading. But yeah, it's not been looking good for him since. So I can't argue with anybody taking Dontel Mays, but man, Dontel Mays, he just reminds me of, like, you're going to hate me for saying this, Narco, but just as far as like the lack of what I've seen from like the potential genetically this guy has, right? 6'6", like not like one of these big tubby heavyweights. He's got the giant reach. It's almost like Jamie Pickett at middleweight, where it's like, how is this guy not like cruising through all of the competition with all of these gifts he has? I kind of see that from Dontel Mays. So maybe he's turning a corner. Maybe this will be a step in the right direction for him. He is a pretty young heavyweight, right? Isn't he only like 30 years old?
He's still young. He's 31 years old.
31.
I think his issue is he has issue with grapplers, guys that can take him down.
Like, why is he taking Rocky Martinez to a decision? Like, what's up with this?
Oh, Rocky Martinez is fucking durable. That fucking guy.
Why does he take 3 rounds to defeat Josh Parisian? You know, these are my issues. Why can't he just dust? Like, I feel like any good heavyweight would just dust Parisian in like 1 round.
But Parisian, I mean, to his credit, like you're probably right. But like Pogues, everybody thought Pogues is going to run through Parisian, and we saw what happened. You know, did he run through Parisian? I mean, it was a even close, pretty decently close fight. So it's like I get it. Like I get what people are saying, and why did he go to the decision against Roque but you have to, like I said, I look at fights based on advantages they have against each other, like the matchup. Where's his advantages? Who has the grappling edge here? You have to favor Dontel Mays. Yeah. Who's got the power here? I think it's Dontel Mays. Who's got the cardio? Dontel Mays. Who's more durable? For sure, Dontel Mays. So I don't know, man. Sakai's been knocked out 4 times in a row.
You're on the plus money side of a heavyweight fight at this level, and you're going against the guy who's been on a 4-fight finish loss streak. So I can't. Yeah, you don't have to prove your point anymore. I can't argue with that.
The knockout thing is a real thing, man. When you get knocked out like this 4 times in a row, even in boxing, your chin is gone. His chin is probably gone. So it might take just one big shot from Dontel Mays to put this guy to sleep. So
yeah, maybe. I mean, the Alistair Overeem one a couple of years back, that was like a ground and pound due to fatigue. Basically, got elbowed on the ground in round 5. The last Sergey Spivak one, he didn't really go out from that. It was a ground and pound, just couldn't get underneath that crippling pressure of Spivak, and that aged pretty well. Tai Tuivasa and Rosenstrike, two of the heaviest hitters at heavyweight, but there probably is some accumulative damage. Definitely his ego and his confidence is damaged in this fight, so that hesitancy might be his downfall here as well. Yeah, I don't really have. That's one of my lesser confident picks, picking Sakai here, but no money on that. I hope your bet cash is there on Dontel Mays, and I hope we see Dontel Mays like start turning a corner and showing some potential here. You know, a guy at 31 who's got a lot of life left in this division and all the physical gifts as well. But yeah, shout out to my guys in the chat. My guy Mushroom MMA in the house. What is going on? Saying what's up to us both. Just my 2 cents. I think put out a breakdown on his channel earlier today, I want to say. So I'll go check that out when I'm finished filming with Narco. The MMA Jesus in the house as well. And we can move on. Oh, and shout out to my guy Bill as well. What's going on? He's with you on Mays here. So moving on up the card, we got the co-main event, which I am very excited for, between Andre Muniz and Brendan Allen. Middleweight bout here in the co-main event between 2 guys that have relied pretty successfully on their BJJ in mixed martial arts. Andre Muniz, undefeated in the UFC so far, taking out the legendary Ronaldo Jacare Souza by breaking his humerus in that fight. Pretty exciting finish there. Also tapping out Eric Anders and then backpacking Uriah Hall to that unanimous decision win recently. Brendan Allen, I just cashed in this guy's an underdog against Jotko, and he made it a very easy cash on the money line, man, getting that round 1 rear naked choke. So I do have a money line bet on Andre Muniz. I'm pretty confident in him here. Brendan Allen, a guy who's getting taken down quite a bit. I think if this was a stand-up only, obviously Allen does have pretty good loose striking, powerful, cumulative damage as well. But I just think Andre Muniz is going to just take him to the ground. And I just think if it's not another backpack 2-decision victory like Uriah Hall, I think he could find that submission. This guy is so good at setting up traps. And it goes not from like fighting out a choke or, messing around with an arm bar. It goes right to like the arm is broken or the guy taps instantly. Like he's got such a tight squeeze and good dexterity with his lower body. So give me Andre Muniz. I took his money line at -200 for a couple units. Where are you at on this one? Are you on the Brandon Allen side?
I am on props on this one. I don't.
Okay. What do you got?
Don't really have a strong take on this fight, just because I do think Muniz is very live for a submission early. I don't want to say that Allen is a slouch on the ground. Like he knows what he's doing. He's pretty good on the ground. He's going to. So the difference between Hall fight and this one is, I do think that Allen is going to make him work a lot more for his positions. He's a scrambly type of guy on the ground, so he's going to make Muniz work on the ground. However, if he makes like a mistake, Muniz can definitely cinch up a sub pretty damn quick. I mean, he's very high level down there. My question is, I still have a really, really hard time with Muniz's cardio. I honestly believe his cardio is not very good. You know, when you watch the Arroyo fight, both guys were absolutely dead in the third round. Like when I say dead, like if Arroyo had any type of gas tank, he probably finishes Muniz and vice versa. They were both dead. You know, and then after that fight, one round, and then we get to see him against Uriah Hall, basically, like you said, backpacking. Uriah Hall really not showing any resistance on the ground because, you know, Uriah Hall's strong. He survived, but he's not really a ground guy. He doesn't know really what to do down there outside of surviving. Allen's a little different. He makes it more scrambly. He's gonna make this guy work more. So I'm interested to see what Muniz is gonna look like later in this fight. So this is another one that I might target the live betting on Allen based on what happens if he gets out of that first round and see how he looks.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just one of those fights where Muniz is definitely the better ground fighter here. But on the feet, I do favor Allen, and cardio-wise, I favor Allen here. So, yeah, I mean, I could understand your bet. Muniz can definitely cinch up a sub because single legs are Allen's weakness, and that's Muniz's strength. Single leg takedowns is how Muniz gets them, and that's how Allen gets taken down over and over again, especially against Malkoun. So, yeah, I mean, I can't blame you if you're playing Allen here. I could see an early sub. But if this fight gets deeper, man, I probably favor Allen.
We got our guy Daz asking if Allen's live for a KO. I mean, look, I'm kind of buying into what Narco's saying about the gas tank of Muniz. It just comes with the trade-off. There's always a trade-off. You can't have a huge gas tank and then also huge power, huge explosive power at the same time. And you kind of see that, like that. It's not one hit knockout power, but it's like one hit, one blitz, like submission potential. That's how it's manifested itself for Andre Muniz. So with that, it's going to come the same trade-off as if he's like a Johan Lainesse or something. Like you're going to have that gas tank fate later on. You can't always have the best of both worlds, especially at middleweight. But I think he gets it done here. And I like that he can put his ego aside and to be like, okay, look, Uriah Hall, I'm just going to grab you here, keep myself safe and win the decision. At the media day, they asked Brendan Allen, just they're like both jiu-jitsu guys. Who do you think is the better ground fighter? Do you want to test that aspect of your game against Andre Muniz? And he's like, he paused, looked both ways, and he's like, my ego would tell me to just go in there and just pull guard instantly and just, prove that I can compete. He's like, but I want to take the fight to the ground on my own terms, he kept on saying. So it was funny because they asked him that, and he just looked both ways. He's just like, man, I know my coach is going to hate hearing this, but I want to just pull guard right away. So we got my guy Johnny K. Picks in the house.
That won't work out well for him.
No, but for the sake of the money line, I hope it happens here. Johnny K. Picks liking the over 1.5 in this fight. Hopefully slow striking in round 1. And maybe you see that sometimes where the two ground fighters cancel each other out and it ends up being a standing fight. So who knows in there? In that case, I do favor the striking of Brendan Allen quite a bit. But yeah, we'll see here. I'm banking on this going to the mat, and I even think Muniz could tap him out at a certain point here. Like Narco was saying, just the scramblability of Brendan Allen. Muniz is one of those high-level BJJ guys where he's got not just a plan A, but a plan B, C, and D, after it for if the guy moves a certain way. So that's going to be exciting. But, man, I appreciate all of you guys in the live chat. We got 42 people in there. Smash the like button. Smash the subscribe if you're new. Check out the description. I've got my guy Narco's Twitter and YouTube there as well. If you live under a rock and you're not aware, this man gives out Lambo plays every single Friday night. One of my favorite shows. Man, Friday nights are tough. I'm usually going out to dinner with my girlfriend on Friday nights, right around the time your show starts with Tim. So we're going on the usual back and forth, like, where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? And instead of doing that, I'm just buying time so I can watch your show before we go out.
You sound like me and my wife. Where do you want to eat? No, you tell me. No, you tell me. Yeah, and she thinks I'm thinking about it, looking up places. Usually I'm just watching you and Tim and taking mental notes for the next day's fights. But so, all right, going on to the main event here, a very compelling light heavyweight championship. I'm just kidding, not the championship, but at least a ranked fight compared to last week where the true championship was on the line between Zach Palga and Jordan Wright.
Dude, can you believe that Jordan Wright's not in the UFC anymore, Narco? It's so sad.
Yeah, him and William Knight happened to
both title contenders.
Wright and Knight both got cut.
Both title contenders, but anybody could be next at this point for the belt, including Nikita Krylov and Ryan Spann. Here's 5-round scheduled bout. I don't know if we're going to need to see those championship rounds in this one, but man, who do you favor in this bout, man? Kick this one to me. I've got an opinion on this fight, but round one I think could be anybody's game here. So how do you approach this one?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Krylov side based on the grappling. He's got to be careful because he's pretty wild early in the fight. He throws big punches. He can get caught. And Spann has one-punch power. I mean, guy's very powerful. Krylov is very, very durable. I mean, he's a tough guy. He tends to, I don't want to say gas. He tends to slow down, but he pushes through pretty damn well, even though he slows down in fights. Spann to me is very front-loaded here. I think he's going to need either a knockout early or a guillotine. I mean, he's very dangerous with his guillotines. Krylov has been guillotined, I think, more than once in his career. So he's got to be very, very careful with where he sticks his neck when he goes for takedowns, because Spann will snatch it and go for it right away. And he's done it multiple times in his career. So I think early it's a little dangerous for Krylov, but I also think early it's dangerous for Spann, because Krylov comes out, blitzes like crazy, throws big punches, has power in his punches, but then he goes for a double leg and takes you down. And on top, I mean, Krylov is pretty vicious on top. I mean, he throws huge ground and pound. He's got sneaky submissions. So Spann has to be very careful early as well. I like the fight doesn't start round 3. Unders here. Don't see really this fight going that far. One of these guys is going to break, but I have a bet on Krylov. I like the grappling, the big grappling edge here for Nikita Krylov. Like, if things get hairy on the feet, he can always go for that takedown, and he's relied on it. It's worked for him before where he got hurt. So overall, I'm pretty high on Krylov, to be honest. Like, when you watch this guy's career and, you know, looking at his record, 29-9, not very good, but like, he literally knocked out Paul Craig. Paul Craig was fucking knocked out. He punched him again, and Paul Craig woke up and got him in a triangle a minute later or whatever. That fight was kind of shitty. Aliev fight, very competitive fight in the striking, albeit. And then Aliev used a takedown late in the third and won that fight 29-28. Teixeira, the former champion, split decision loss to Glover.
That aged well.
Basically what I'm saying is this guy is that high level where he's competing with the former champion. He's competing with the contender in Aliev. Spann is basically, I wouldn't say Spann can't compete with these guys, but Spann is very front-loaded. I don't think he can compete for 3 or 5 rounds against these guys. So that's the difference. I do think Krylov is the side here. I got him at -150. I don't know what it is now. Oh, it's 170. So it's went up a little. I still like him here.
That's where I got it. I'm on the same side as you. I paid that a couple of units at -170.
Yeah, I really like his side here. Outside of getting guillotined or knocked out early, this should be all Krylov, to be honest.
Yeah, it's that spot, that early part of round 1 that is going to be the dicey spot here. And that's why I'm going to have a little piece of the under 1.5. I'll have a little piece of the under 2.5 where the fight doesn't start round 3. I can't remember which one I got. They both opened up on different books, but just a piece of that, just to kind of ensure the Ryan Spann knockout ability, or the club and sub, the guillotine as well. The way he torqued up that guillotine on Ian Cutelaba, amazing, dude. Amazing. And using all 6'5" of his height to really crank that on his neck.
He really uses that high elbow. Like, he's really good with it, man.
It's really strong there. So that's disturbing in round 1. But after that, it starts getting a little bit better. And Nikita Krylov, over time, you mentioned a lot of the spots where he was competitive against high-level guys, but even guys that are like front-loaded like Ryan Spann, like Volkan Ozdemir's that way. He handled the damage, avoided the risk early, fired back, and then ground him out to a decision. which is rare for Nikita Krylov to go to decision. But another case of that was with Johnny Walker, the same way. Front-loaded guy, explosive early. He avoided that early explosive power and then ground him out to a decision. So he's got a history, even OSP in their rematch too. So some of these guys that are dangerous early, he's handling. And I think Krylov is, for such a long career, I was at this guy's debut. It was in Milwaukee in the Midwest, my neck of the woods here, when he got knocked out in his debut against Soa Palele. And that was back in like 2013, I want to say 2012 or 2013. So he's had a 10-7 career at 205, which is actually a really good feat when you break down all the killers of that division. But yeah, we're on the same side of that one. I like the unders, and I'll have a little bit of that just to ensure that, just in case Ryan Spann pulls out that. Again, you're looking at both these guys had that kind of the same victory, right? The round one knockout like a minute in over Gustafsson and Reyes. It's almost like the same fight, right? Where it's like, there's probably a lot of guys that could do that to both of those opponents. So hopefully Ryan Spann, hopefully because he starts over swinging too as this fight goes on. Like he's powerful in all rounds, but man, after round one, he starts over swinging. I think he'll get taken down and ground.
He gets tired. He does get tired. He gets sloppy. He's got to – one thing I noticed is Krylov's got to watch out for the uppercut. Like, Spann throws it, and, if Krylov is shooting, he could actually eat one of those. But, man, when I look, Krylov's faced some really big, powerful guys, and he's only been knocked out. Like that first initial UFC fight in the third against Palele. But that's it. For a guy that fights as reckless as he fights, he's got to have a freaking really good chin if he's not getting knocked out more often,
Yeah, so that's kind of what made my decision to trust him here. So, man, Narco, we made it through all 13 fights. Efficient time. Learned a lot. A pleasure having you. And I'm not going to steal your shtick here with your Lambo, but I don't know, maybe like a Lincoln, town car or something parlay here for the 40 people in the live chat. I got a small one here, at least on Alves round one, plus 650. The Leavitt sub, I like it, plus 200. And that Krylov submission, I think, too. If you can grab that back the way that Anthony Smith did at plus 215. That's a 69-1, little Lincoln Navigator parlay there. So you got something for us, a little bit, I come from humble beginnings. My fans see me smoking the $30 cigars. They see me looking like $1 million, but, I can slum it a little bit. I don't need a Lambo parlay. What do you got for us?
Let's go with this. I didn't get one ready, but let's go with Aliev decision.
Okay.
Let's see here. Aliev decision. Fernandes decision. What's her decision prop at? Plus 170. Okay, yeah, we'll go Fernandes decision.
I gotta buy a Buick. Come on now, give me a Buick.
Dontel Mays money line. Oof. And let's go with what's Krylov ITD? I didn't even put this together, so that's a shitty line. Do not do that. Let's go with Brandon Allen money line, plus 195. Well, I don't know what that pays, but
Brendan Allen money line?
Yeah, it's like plus 195, I believe.
Ooh, that'll boost it up a little bit. All right, we'll plug those in. We'll run that back. The Aliev decision, the Fernandes decision, the Mays money line, and the Brandon Allen money line as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, we'll get a mid-sized sedan with that, and
that's not going to give you a Lambo, but usually I have like the props, and not all the props are out. Like FanDuel, I kind of wait for FanDuel because they give out some juicy prop lines, so I just wait for that.
All right. Yeah, I appreciate your time, man. Everybody in the live chat, all 41 of you guys coming through. And, it's going to be a fun one this week. It's going to be a damn sight better than last week, I imagine. I'm always on the optimistic side of these Apex fight cards. Even last week, I was excited for it, but goddamn, I was actually working overtime at work too and just had the fights on there. Thank God I was doing something productive during the William Knight fight and the Jordan Wright fight, which actually ultimately cost me profit last week. So looking to bounce back this week, and hopefully the fighters will put on some exciting ones this week too. Before this big pay-per-view next week too. So
I might not make it in time because my son has his second jiu-jitsu tournament. So
I've been seeing those posts. It's awesome to see you getting him in there so early.
He loves it. So this is his second one already in a month. He got second his last one out, so he went 3-1. he's excited. He's excited for the second one. He had a lot of jitters his first one. I was kind of surprised because he usually runs through almost everybody in practice. But he was so damn nervous prior. He got submitted by the girl that won. But yeah,
was it his first tournament?
It was his first tournament. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I remember the first tournaments I had, like leaving the practice room, leaving the gym and the mats there where it's like people that and then going to like, bleachers everywhere and there's referees and judges everywhere. It's a whole different ball game. And yeah, the nerves are certainly real for that, but it's a fun time, man. That's cool to see your boy in there. But all right, you guys, I will talk to you guys very soon. I'll have that best bets and props out in a couple days. And good luck and enjoy the fights, everybody.